Kitchen Couch Podcast. We're feeding the soul one conversation at a time. The Kitchen Couch Podcast. The Kitchen Couch. The Kitchen Couch. We're feeding the soul one conversation at a time.
So welcome to the Kitchen Couch. I'm your host, Dav Lewis, and I have a special guest today that I will introduce shortly, but this is the lovely Shonda Scott, author, community advocate, changemaker, influencer, Black woman, doing really good stuff in the community, who I'll introduce shortly. The Kitchen Couch, if you're new, thank you for subscribing to showing up. And if you're a returning guest, we appreciate you. Always remember to like, subscribe, and share on YouTube, on Spotify. And if you're listening to this too as well, you can catch us on iTunes as well. So again, we're here to feed the soul one conversation at a time. And I'm excited to have author Shonda Scott with us. But she's not just an author. You guys will learn more about her as we navigate this conversation and talk about food and the whole thing. But Shonda, welcome to the podcast. If you're in Houston, if you're in Oakland, be sure to there's in Houston, we talk about the food situation where the government has been shut down. We are opening back up at this time, but still people are in need. It's the holidays are coming up, and SNAP alone is not enough for a lot of families. And so if you are in Houston, there's a Bread of Life, there's a YMCA, there's the food bank, the Houston Food Bank, that is available for you if you need food. But again, like just in general, like if you're a person that you're not having to depend on SNAP, if you're not having to depend on the government for assistance, we have an obligation and responsibility to our community. And I'm encouraging people, and I'm calling us up, and I'm encouraging us to step up and to make sure that we pour into our community. Like that's one of the things that we have sort of gotten away from. And you can see it. It's very prevalent. It's very obvious today that people really don't have a lot of places to go. Like there's not a lot of food banks. There's a food desert in our community, and there's an absence. But there are people out here that are still doing really good work. And so we have to lean on community outside of government. And so I will continue to share this, and I will continue to talk about this on this platform because again, food and safety, food deserts are a big issue in the Black community. And it impacts us greater when we're looking at these things on that. So make sure that you look at co-op opportunities and you look at ways to give. Like there are tons of families coming up. So Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up. We got kids, we got people in our community that are starving. So be sure to give and give back. So, but again, I would be remiss not to talk about that because the holidays are coming up, but not just the holidays, but in general, like we have an obligation to our community. So Shonda, welcome to the Kitchen Couch. I'm so glad to have you. Welcome to Houston. And then thank you for saying yes. Like today was so random. Like Derek was like, Shonda's coming. And I was like, I don't know if I want to ask her right away to be on the podcast, but I thought it would be a really good idea. So Shonda is an author. She is a change agent. She is a woman about community. She is a woman about giving and giving back and investing. She is global. She's national. She's all these things. And she's got a book out called
Give Me a Year, 12 New Things to Embrace Change and Live Your Best Life. So I had to say yes, because it's about doing something new and different, getting out of your comfort zone, embracing change in fun, exciting ways. So it just challenged me to continue to do my 12 new things in life. So thank you for the invite.
So is one of those things saying yes?
It's a lot of saying yes. When it's like don't let the fear stop you. If someone says something that's a good idea in that time, you be okay saying yes.
So when you say that, why do you think fear leads that no? I think if you're not saying yes, you're saying no. or you're just not saying anything at all? Like, why do you think fear shows up?
Fear shows up because it's a comfort. Like getting out of your comfort zone means getting out of a place where you feel comfortable. And most people think that staying the same, staying stuck, and staying where they are is comfortable. But life is changing every second around you. Everything in life is changing. So you not changing your mindset is not natural, but it's what we have conditioned ourselves to believe is natural.
So do you think
And it's blocking your blessing.
why do you think we do that?
Why do we do that? So it's interesting because as children, we don't do it. Like we're learning how to walk, we're learning how to crawl, all the things that are new, we're celebrating. But even as me as a mom, I realized that my son was very adventurous and I had to consciously balance between managing his safety and not, you know, circumventing his ability to be free. So it's a conscious thing that we learn how to be afraid. Like we don't naturally come here afraid because it really isn't natural for us not to want to evolve. But it becomes comfortable and you feel like I know what I know and that's my comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic, I thought would have shook us up enough that we would remember that. But part of it is now it's been enough time that we don't remember. But the moment of that pandemic was really life changing for most people in the world because it shook us to the point where we had to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Like we didn't have a choice.
I agree. I agree. And I think the pandemic in general was a time where the world decided, majority of the world, things change fundamentally when majority of the society decides that we need to move in that direction. Like even if it's like over 50% of the people agree that the pandemic was something we had to look at our systems. We had to do a check on ourselves. Like we spent a lot of time by ourselves. We had to look at mental health. We had to look at disparities in the community. There were so many things that we had to stop and take a look at when the pandemic happened. And I love the fact that you brought that up and you related that because I do believe that was the end of the world that we knew.
And
Like
it's
they talked
right.
about the world coming to an end and they
And it
talk
felt like
about
it.
Jesus coming back and all those things. And I think the world ended in 2020.
It did. The world that we knew before really did end then. But people are trying to put the genie back in the bottle, but it's no way.
Yep.
But so it's just like, what are we gonna do now that we had that moment?
Yep.
And that's what the whole 12 New Things journey, that's where it took off because I was doing it before the pandemic. But right before the pandemic, I said, doing something once a month that's new and different to get you out of your comfort zone, to get you to like start looking at change is not always fearful, but sometimes it's exciting and fun.
Yep.
But even in the midst of fun, there can be challenges.
Yep.
So by the end of the year, you've done 12 new things. So by the end of that year, it was my birthday, February 2020, when I was like, oh, this is like a lifestyle. It's
Yep.
just not a fun social experiment on social media. It was fun, but
Yep.
it's like, this is really a lifestyle. And then the world shut down.
Yep.
And then the pandemic really was the more confirmation that, yes, this is life. We need to be figuring out ways to evolve and change because when we are open to change, so many things open up to us in our world that we
Mhm.
don't realize that we're blocking. And it's like, and it's interesting because it is kind of a case like the more we can convince, the more people are convinced not to change, the
Yep.
more they are really limiting themselves.
Yep.
And so if they don't want you to evolve and change, then the strategy could be like, no, stay stuck, keep you there. Like, but everything else is evolving around you.
Yep.
So for me, I'm saying like, if everything else is evolving around me and I only can control my mindset, and if I want things to change in my world and in my life, then the only thing I can control is me and my mindset. So I'm saying like, it's fun and exciting to do the 12 New Things journey and look at where you are in a year. That's
Yep.
why it's like, give me a year.
Yep.
So I don't want to be stuck
Yep.
anymore.
Have
So
you?
I'm sharing it with others that don't want to be stuck or just want to have fun. Some people are like, some people are doing the 12 New Things journey and they're 80 years old.
Yep.
They just want to live life differently,
Yep.
which is fun.
Have you always been this way? Like, have you always felt like your purpose was to pour into others and to give back and to, because the 12 new things is about giving back, and it's about you giving yourself to the world. You put this in a book, you put it in writing, and you created this 12-step journey that's 12 months. It's a year and 12 months that you pour in, you give back to people. Has that always been you?
I think that's always been me because that's how I was raised, and I'm an Aquarian, so I'm a humanitarian. But it hasn't always been me in the level of sharing that I'm doing now that I've written a book.
Yep.
Because I've often kind of blocked mine by not sharing and not being forthcoming in things that I'm experiencing because my natural default was to be more private
Yep.
and just kind of not share.
Yep.
I wrote it because people wanted a guide to do
Yep.
their whole 12 New Things journey. So that's why I went into it. And I wrote it at a time where I needed to heal. So the writing healed me. And so I was praying that the book would heal others. But then the part that I didn't know was that the sharing of the stories actually can help heal other people. You know, like when you know that people have gone through this process and came out on this other side,
Yep.
then you can see that that process is a process. And if other people are going through something similar or just something dark or something that's challenging
Yep.
them, they can have a blueprint, an example of how you can keep going to get to the other side.
So
that part of sharing, I wasn't always that open with.
yeah,
the book
so
gave me that opportunity to be that vulnerable.
I love that you share that too, because one of the things that I talk about too, and I talk about with my friends, like even like starting this podcast, like I wouldn't necessarily say afraid, but I let imposter syndrome show up because I too struggle with being so open and so vulnerable and like in public and in front of people in that way. And what you just shared is so important too, because again, I think your story and your journey is not just unique to you.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
unique to you in certain ways, but we live on a planet where people are going through stuff. And we live in a world where people need the 12 new things. They need something different, or they need to know that what they're doing is okay and that it's affirming. Like we need affirmation from, and then again, like you're listening to the spirit. Like God is leading you. God is telling you that you need to do this. And the more we tune that out and try to tune that out, the louder it gets a lot of times. Or again, like we miss these opportunities to actually like pour into that, or you're just not ready. There's no right or wrong rhyme or reason about the journey, but the journey is the journey. And so I'm grateful that you listen, and I'm grateful that you were brave, because it takes a lot of courage to step out front. To you already worked in the community, you were already fundraising and building community and investing in community in a major way, but to step out front and do a book and to then go on a tour, like a
Right.
national tour.
And do a book where you share your personal stories and your vulnerabilities. Like writing is the most vulnerable process. A book is the most vulnerable process I feel now that someone can do, because you're writing your thoughts and your feelings and you're sharing with the world to be received.
Yep.
But then adding your personal stories to it, for me, someone who's more private, makes that even more vulnerable. But important, because I think in my community and in my family, the sharing of stories is where we haven't allowed the next generations to follow, to know what someone's gone through, to know it's not just me going through this. It's
Yep.
like other people have gone through hurdles. I mean, I'm still, just in me writing the book, I'm finding out things about sides of my family that I didn't know, you know, just even good things
I
that they
know.
never shared, you know, and even challenges that we were putting together, the thoughts like, what happened to that person and what happened to this person? And they're telling the story, but that not sharing has like been a disservice to the generations that come behind us. So that's what God showed me in me sharing the book and the stories, that was where I got comfort in, like, okay, I'm just going to put it all out there on the field and leave it for it to be a blessing for me to heal, but then also for others as well that read it.
I love that. Like who you are today, and like, do you Like when you think back when you were 5, do you see yourself today at 5?
At 5, well, I don't know if I see all of myself today, but at 5, that's a good age to go back to for me, because at 5, that's probably where I was a very confident person at that age. And then in between that, I had times where I wasn't as confident. I may have been bullied in elementary school, but that would have started more like a 7-year-old time. So 5 was a great age. I started kindergarten at 4. So 4 and 5 were good ages for me as far as who I was as a person. And I don't know if I would see me now, but my my dad always says, you know, you're the same person you were at 2 years old,
Yeah.
personality wise, like
Yeah.
who I am and how I engage and and I'm glad I evolved to come back to the person that I like me being. And I was that person like in high school in different times, but then in high school at different times, there were different pieces of me that I had to work through
Yep.
because of the, just the adolescence and the evolution. But I was still at the core this certain person. But then there were times in between maybe my 18 and 20 and 21 that I was a different me, just because of experiences once you leave your
Yep.
home and go out into the world. And then from, like 21 to like 25 and 26, big difference, because then the relationships that I had may have made life look different for
Sure.
me, and feelings that I didn't know that I had to deal with in process came up. So I'm glad that I'm evolving back to where I like me and who I am.
I appreciate you sharing that too. So you talk about childhood a lot and talk about like being younger, and I always think that, and you hinted on this earlier about like being a baby and being a child, and like how close we are to God, and how
And
being
more free we are at that
yeah,
age. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. Like so when we're a child, we are more vulnerable, and we are more love, like we're more pure, like we're more open, we're more we are just our true pure self. And I think that life comes along and snatches that away from us. And one of the things that I always believe, and I think that we don't do a good job of on the planet, is s- like harnessing that childlike. I think we're in such a rush to grow up.
True.
Like we're in such a rush to like get like to grow up, and it's material reasons too,
Right.
or it's about trying to get away from some stuff. And a lot of it has to do with getting away from things that are taking our childlike away, that's taking that child away from me.
Or we think we're going to have more control over something because now we're an adult. We can do what we want to do. We make the decision where it's not even like that.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on control? Like, are we in control?
I think we're in control of ourselves,
How?
because that's where part of what the whole book and the 12 new things is about
Mhm.
is like, my premise is that if you want to change your life and your world and anything around you, it's about changing yourself. Now that's not as easy as it sounds, because that's usually where we have the most resistance. We don't want to change.
Yeah.
But that's a choice we make. Like, and that's why the 12 new things challenge is giving you this catalyst to like continue to make that choice that change is okay and that I have to change, and because it's happening around me, with or without you agreeing to be a part of it or not. It's changing. Like your body's changing, your world's changing, everything, technology's changing. Like it's literally evolving as we speak. And so I feel like we do have that's what God gave us, the control over our mindset and ourselves. Now we get carried away and think we control everything outside of that.
Sure.
But the only thing that controls our external is our internal. So the more we focus on changing and working on us, the more the external will look like what we might want, or we'll be able to receive it differently. That's in a healthier way.
Do you?
So
Yeah. I, I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
it's fine.
Do you think that we all have the same thought process, and that change and being able to change and make changes on our own is equal? You think it's the same across the board, and you think that is? Do you think it's easy for people to make those decisions?
Now, I don't think it's easy for anybody.
Do you think it's equal?
I think we all have the capabilities. Now, some may have to work on different things in different ways than others, but I don't think it's not cookie cutter. Like the way I need to work on it for me is different than you need to work on it. But I don't think it's easy for either one of us to work on it. It's a matter of, if I want it bad enough, how much am I going to do to work on it to get there? Now, that part is where your choice is. Like some people, just like going to the gym. Some people want to be fit bad enough where they're going to go to the gym. Commitment, no cheating, no anything, right?
Sure.
And then some of us want it, like me, I want it, but I might cheat a little bit, or I may not go. Right. I won't do that, but I might go get my cupcake and then I'll pay for it later. You know what I mean? Right. Or some people, or some people are might want to cheat that bad where they put their own maybe life in danger just to try to get something, the shortcut, versus doing the work. And the whole point of the 12 New Things journey in the book is about the work and the process is the process. There's no shortcuts to it. It's just you got to go through it. Everybody who's gotten to where they are successful, or even where they want to go on a goal, has had to go through a process.
Do you think that we've gotten away from that as a society? I when I look around and I look at the newer generation coming up, which I love, the new generation, there's a lot of things about the world. There are things that have changed and that are undeniable. They have really changed. And I think one of those things is the boldness and the audacity of the new generation. They've come in and they kick down doors, and they're creative in addressing issues that are related to racism and sexism, all these things. They come in and they kick down these doors. But also, the thing that you're talking about is the audaciousness, the strength, the courage, and the will to change things that you need to change. I think that the new generation has a lot of resources. They have a lot of things at their fingertips. But I don't think we've done a good enough job at equipping them with how to use them and how to take them. I also don't know if they're really receptive, and they don't respect the older generation. And I don't blame them, because I think about when I look at our so-called leaders in this country and in this world, it's embarrassing. And I understand how respect is a big thing for the new generation, and being able to honor that. And our generation, we respect people just because of who they were. We respect them just because of their title. We respect them just because they were a parent. The new generation, they don't really do that. They don't.
Right. They want to know why.
Yeah.
Right. I think that, the thing I do like about the new generation is good that because so much is available to them, that they're more open to share, where I feel like that's a disservice. Like I was saying, that we haven't done is sharing the process and the information allows people to know that this is a process. This is what happened. It didn't just happen ta-da.
Yep.
You got to from A to B, and there was no process in between. But I think that so that not sharing is more on us than on them. But so now that we know that, maybe start sharing. Let's start sharing. I'm writing the book. Start telling stories, so that, because at some point they're going to have to need resources, because the process is the process. So the part about their experience is that everything's been so quick. They had microwaves, they have cell phones, they have all this evolution is happening so fast.
Yeah.
So in their mind, that's how life is.
Absolutely.
But it still takes the same amount of time to carry a child and have birth. The process, the natural processes that God put in place are still a process.
Yeah.
And so what is happening, and that's what was revealed to me while God revealed to me while I was writing the book, is that some of the reasons why we're losing our generation behind us is because when they're getting to that dark moment in that process, they don't realize that is a part of the process, and it's just a matter of doing the work to get through it.
Yep.
They're getting stuck there thinking this is not normal. This is different, where this is really the norm. This is really the reality, and everything else is happening is just some new things, but the process is still what it is. And the fact that they haven't had maybe enough honest examples of how we got there, because maybe our generation tried to more protect them
Sure.
and like shield them from
Sure.
that, but which has been unfair, because the process is a process, and the more you know that this is a process, the more I believe that you will not get stuck in the process.
Yep.
And you will get to the other side, because once you get to the other side, the blessings outweigh all that you went through.
That's beautiful. And I don't think we have enough of these conversations with our newer generation and the youth. Like, I don't think that's why I think your book is very important. And I think it's timely too. Because again, like, I don't care how we perceive stuff on the internet, how we perceive it on TV, in the movies, and the media. It is a false sense of success, and a false sense of like growth, and a false sense of like getting these places. Like, if you look on social media now, everything is, people show you the
highlights.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They show you the things that they want you to believe about them. And those things are not reality. And that's not really, it's not real, but
it may be real, but the part that's not real is that it just didn't happen in a day. And that's what the assumptions people make. So they leave you to those assumptions. So that might be their real world for that moment. But what was happening, a year from behind that, or what was happening like the day before.
Yep. And it may be just a something that we're creating.
Oh, you said it's like, this all, it could be that too, right?
You get what I mean?
Some
like,
of it is like a perfect
mostly
platform for make believe,
yeah.
Right? Like someone could be what you see on the camera, but what's over here is going on is totally different. You can manipulate it that
it's
way.
La La Land.
Right.
And so when we live in a world that's like La La Land, it's very make believe, and that I think that there's this entitlement and there's this feeling that I don't have to put work in to get the things that I need to get, because the microwave society.
Right. And most of us don't want to do the work. It's hard. It's painful. It's a process. It's not easy. I mean, sometimes it's not fun. That's why I've tried to do something that makes it fun at least once a month, or at least you go into it for the fun, and you may be challenged in the midst of it, but your mind is thinking, but I came in this for fun. So somewhere it's going to be fun somewhere through the process. And once you get through it, there are blessings and fun on the other side, but it's hard. Like, like working on yourself, doing things that are going to take you to the next level is not easy. So most of us don't want to do it, but it's a matter of how bad do you want it to.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you that too. Like, do you think people want to do hard things to?
No, I don't want to do hard things either, but I know I have to, you know what I mean? Like, I know. So for me, it's like, okay, if this is what I have to do to get to the other side, then I'll just push through and get to it.
But what is that? What is that?
And I think at some point in life there's supposedly some point in life where you can just master these things and it's not as hard. But I think that's so many levels. Like, you have to have gone through you don't just come here where it's just ease. Like, you have to break through levels to get to that piece. It's like peeling a piece of fruit or something. You got to get to the levels to get to the fruit.
I believe that. I think some people's journey is easy. I think some people.
Well, but if you talk to some people, they're not feeling, and that's that's sometimes unfair to people, because sometimes people look at people's lives and go, oh, they did that. That was easy. I mean, I get that in business. People just think some things that I'm doing, they're like, oh, well, she did it. That just happened like that. They don't know. I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning praying for 2 hours. I'm going to prayer, a 6 a.m. prayer with the intercessors at 6 before I even start my day. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like that's just that part of it. It's just like if you watch what all people are doing to make things happen, and then the grind and all the things that they have to do for it then to manifest. Like in business, I always tell people, do you know what it takes to take a conversation to a contract and then get paid and then pay people and then continue to get paid and do the work? It's like all of those layers. But when people see the fruits of it, they think, oh, that, and if you don't look like your struggle,
Yep.
then they automatically think that happened so easily.
Sure.
And that is a disservice to the person as far as the work, but it's also a disservice to you because now if life is hard for you, you start thinking something's wrong with you.
Yep.
And there may be some things you need to tweak, but some things are causing people to self-medicate.
Yep.
It's all causing people to check out of here very early because they get into these places, which I absolutely understand, that are very dark and very hard to get out of because in your mind, you're thinking, this was not supposed to be this challenging. And like, why wasn't it? Nothing in the Bible says it's going to be that easy.
Yep.
Nothing says it's like going to happen overnight.
The Kitchen Couch Podcast. We're feeding the soul one conversation at a time. The Kitchen Couch Podcast. The Kitchen Couch. The Kitchen Couch. We feeding the soul.